I want to talk today about dreams. No, not the dreams most people can relate to. You know, the 2 a.m., wake up and panic about something you forgot to do, probably for tomorrow's lesson plan. Or maybe the 3 a.m., always timely, brainstorming session about an exciting idea or event that you're planning. I'm speaking more specifically about the dreams we have as individuals for our lives, and that students have, that teachers help shape and provide the tools for to make a reality. I'm a self-proclaimed obsessive dreamer, big thinker, and goal setter. I've been this way for as long as I can remember. I'm constantly coming up with plans, thinking about them obsessively, reworking them, improving them, throwing them all away, just to bring them back again, better than ever. At least I think so. But my main point is, I've always led my life as a very goal-oriented person. Now I have a big childhood secret that hardly anybody knows about, until now. And it dates back to my early childhood and middle school years. The first dream I can remember having for my life is to be a professional dancer. Yes, I said dancer. I lived my years growing up in various practice studios, local stages, and even performing with the Tulsa Ballet. Being a middle school male dancer, I lived through some very harsh bullying, which shaped my childhood years to be pretty negative. I vividly remember running out of one of my middle school math classes crying with frustration and embarrassment. And I used to say that these memories haunted me. In fact, they're one of the reasons I teach today, and specifically middle school. Now, I tell you this secret to illustrate this point. Not all dreams end where you think they're going to end. Being a dreamer can be pretty dangerous and spiral out of control, but knowing when to make changes, or even have that moment of realization with yourself to quietly say, I'm done now, has been one of the most important life lessons I've ever learned. But I didn't learn that until about a year ago. And that is the main reason why I teach, to construct fellow controlled dreamers. My life growing up definitely seemed out of control, and nothing led to where I thought it would. I went from dreaming about being a professional dancer to a professional violinist in high school, then moving all the way to Corpus Christi for college to dream about being a marine biologist, quickly realizing it's not all about scuba diving and playing on the beach. And I even found out I'm not very good at chemistry, earning my first C. Nevertheless, I then transferred to OU and formed many new dreams, which involved changing my major 5 times, going to my first OU football game, seeing that field, and dreaming of being on it. So I stepped out of my comfort zone and became the OU mascot, which I did for 3 years as Boomer. Eventually, I graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees because I could never decide on a final major. And then, to the surprise of many, including myself, began a career in law enforcement, living out the dream of wearing a fancy uniform and driving the fancy car. I worked in law enforcement for about 5 years. At year 4, though, I realized that I can pull people over, take people to jail, and give them tickets every single day, but those people just never really learned. Therefore, I didn't feel like I was making a difference. It wasn't until I transferred to be a school resource officer that I realized I was home. Almost. I became alternatively certified, left law enforcement, and now I'm here, 9 months into my first year of teaching. And let me tell you, it's been one of the most challenging, yet absolutely rewarding things I've ever done. I want to revisit my middle school years, where I was introduced to one of the most pivotal people in my life, Mrs. Jones, who's actually here today. Mrs. Jones taught me about having a passion and following dreams, but not by teaching about specifically passions and following dreams, but by making learning fun and being one of the most warm-hearted, student-centered teachers I've ever known. I still remember blacklight spelling tests, reading so many books and articles just to find published grammatical errors for extra credit. I don't think I ever found any. A school-wide grammar game, which involved trading little beads with students and teachers when we caught each other making grammatical errors, and that list could go on and on and on. I credit her for why I'm a teacher today. I teach to be that teacher for my students. I wouldn't be the teacher for leadership, creative technology, and yearbook if it weren't for my dream of being a National Geographic photographer in college or for working in law enforcement. I wouldn't be the coach for competitive cheer, soccer, and the mascot team if it weren't for my dream of being in the performing arts, or for working in athletics as the OU mascot. Or I wouldn't be in charge of my school's social media or the student activities coordinator if it weren't for my drive to limit the amount of students that are bullied as I was. I do all of these things to reach as many students as possible, to construct fellow dreamers. People ask me all the time in various ways, how do you go from being in the performing arts to a mascot, to a cop, then to a teacher? Well, if I hadn't followed all of my dreams, I would have never realized my calling to be an educator. Instead of fighting crime, I now teach to fight bullying by helping make my school a fun and positive learning environment. I teach so my students will learn to dream big, set goals, think outside the box, be respectable individuals, make constant improvements on themselves, and in turn our society for years to come. I want to go back and end with one of the most subtly impactful moments of my life. On the last day of school, Mrs. Jones gave every student a small blue bead on a thread, and on a piece of cardstock is a typed excerpt from Bird Baylor's book, One Small Blue Bead. At the bottom of the excerpt, it reads, "Don't let anyone steal your dreams from you." Signed, Mrs. Jones. This actually hangs in my classroom today as a constant inspiration for me to always follow my dreams and to remember, when times get tough in that room, that I'm there to construct fellow dreamers. All in all, if my students walk out of my room for the last time on the last day of school and they take away only one thing from me, it's that I hope they learn to dream big, stand up for what they believe in, and that they know it's not about where you start or how you get there, it's where you end up. So, don't ever let anyone steal your dreams from you. Thank you.